Hello, everyone. Welcome to Full Throttle Infinitely Wide, the Motorsports Community Podcast, episode number 6. I'm Preston, joined by Mike and Ryan. Sunburst is not feeling well. When we say Sunburst, we're referring to Craig. We call him Sunburst way more often than not. Cody told us that he's gonna take a hiatus from doing this with us until he gets his personal life together. That's his decision, and we respect it. So for today's episode, we're going to be talking about the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Darlington. Then we're going to talk about the 12 Hours of Sebring, and then we'll be talking about the O'Reilly and Cup Series races at Darlington. So let's start off with the Truck Series race. How about Corey Heim? How this man still does not have a full-time ride, I have no idea, but kudos to him for winning this race, leading 28 laps.
He literally did, and I called it in my Discord when we were watching the end of it. He did what Kyle Busch did in the truck race at Atlanta in 2005. I don't think I've ever seen anybody charge like that, since Busch. And he charged, I think he was,
Yep.
7th, 8th on that last restart, and...
He, from the highlights I watched, he absolutely sailed through the field.
Made a couple 3-wide passes, and then when he pulled the move on Chastain to actually take the lead on the last lap, he had him cleared by about a truck length and a half by the time he actually slid up. He was motoring.
Yeah, admittedly, I didn't see all of his race because I was falling asleep during it. I work an overnight shift, but from what I saw of it, it's a decent race, and like I said, props to Corey Heim for winning in the way that he did. And there were, how many trucks were running at the finish? There were 30 out of 36 trucks running at the finish. The ones that didn't finish were Ty Majeski, Andres Perez, Chris Wright, Minnie Terrell, Josh Riom. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
Riom.
Yep. And Ben Rhodes.
Well, I know Perez and Majeski got together in the same incident. I did see the highlight of that, but I didn't see what caused it.
All right. So, anything else we can say about the truck race?
Really not anything I could have seen anyway.
It was a better show than what the Truck Series usually does at Darlington.
I can agree with that. All right. So let's move on to the 12 Hours of Sebring. I thought there were quite a lot of full course yellows in the first 4 hours of this race. And there were a few towards the end of the race, including for a wheel that fell off a car and ended up in the grass. But hey, I think this was still a better race than the 24 Hours of Daytona, considering that we didn't have a 6-hour fog delay.
Anytime you don't have a delay in racing, it's nice.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if we can call it really a delay, considering the clock was still going when that fog was at Daytona, but you know what I mean. And this race was won by the number 7 Porsche 963, driven by Felipe Nasr, Julian and Lauer. I'm probably heavily butchering that, and Lauren Heinrich. A bunch of these drivers I just can't pronounce. I'm so sorry. But did you guys catch this one?
I watched the highlights of it.
I didn't even know it was this weekend.
Yeah, I caught the highlights of it.
Yeah, I missed the first 10 minutes of it or so, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, Porsche basically dominated both the GTP class and the GTD class.
Yeah, and if I had a Pepsi for every penalty in this race, I'd be in the hospital with a caffeine overdose.
I do have to say, the Corvettes in this race, one of the best racing liveries I've seen in decades. I love the look of those cars.
Yeah. And around the time of this race, IMSA released their 2027 calendar, and Lime Rock Park is going to be on their Michelin Pilot Challenge calendar. So that's pretty cool. As a man who was born in Connecticut, I'm very happy to see Lime Rock return to the schedule.
Yes, I hope to see some Porsches catching a little bit of air off the hill like they used to back in the day.
Well, we'll see what happens. And now we move on to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at Darlington. It looked like Kyle Larson was going to win this one. He led 107 laps, but because of a pit stop issue on the last caution, the winner was Justin Allgaier. Yeah, Larson had to settle for a 4th place finish because of his bad pit stop. And I thought he was going to get passed by Carson Kvapil at the end for 4th, but he held on. And Ryan, you said you missed this race because of work?
Well, I missed this race in general. I didn't really have an interest in watching it, and I probably should have, just for these purposes, so I knew what happened. But I did hear about Larson having a pit stop, kind of dominating it, and having a pit stop issue that took him away from winning it. But
yeah. Mike, what did you think of this race, if you saw it?
It was decent. Well, throwback weekend's always good in the Cup Series.
Mm-hmm.
They put on a good show, I think.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It really wasn't a throwback weekend. It was more. It was more a throwback in name than it was actually calling it a throwback weekend. It was.
There's still cars running the throwback schemes.
Yeah.
Quite a few. Not to the extent of some years in the past, though.
Yeah, this was a pretty clean race for the most part, although we did have 3 drivers DNFing, those being LeVar Scott, Kyle Sieg, and Alex Labay. And this definitely was not a good day for Austin Hill fans.
The few that there are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he crashed, twice in this race?
It was like, get me to a plate track now. I should say, I really can't use the term plate anymore. They haven't used plates in years.
Yeah, I was about to say. They haven't run restricted plates in years. But, shall I move on to the Cup Series at Darlington?
Yes.
All right. It looked like Brad Keselowski was going to win this race, but how about Tyler Reddick?
Honestly, I think I could sum up this race. This race was an RFK love fest for a good chunk of it. Hell, at one point they had the top 3 in the running order. But ultimately, what made the difference is what Darlington's always been known for: tires. Reddick had newer tires than Keselowski, and he ran them down and never looked back.
Yep.
It's literally that's what I think this package, and that's why I kind of like the package that they used. You were slipping and sliding, drivers hanging out of the race cars. Essentially it was old school Darlington. Slipping and sliding, you got to maintain the tires, and honestly, if we had more green flag racing, we had a couple of incidents, but if we had more just keeping it green, I would have loved to seen the tire management, because I think that would have come even more in play. But, Tyler Reddick is, bro, 4 of the first 6 races, only the 3rd driver in the history of NASCAR to do that.
Yep, the others being Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott.
They found something this season.
Yep.
Whatever they didn't have last year, they found it this year.
Yep. And if Reddick wins the title this year, I will absolutely not be surprised at this point.
Yeah, he's on a heck of a roll for the start of the year.
Absolutely.
He's...
Well, 23XI is a whole, and I commented this when I was streaming the race on Sunday. It seems like week in, week out, they're coming with speed. I mean, we saw glimpses of it last year a little bit, especially with Bubba. But now more so this year, you're seeing a lot more. Both cars are coming with speed. And it's not like they're just putzing around and Reddick is lucking into these wins. He dominated Coda. Had a hell of a charge yesterday. So it's like they're coming with speed. When you come with speed, you put yourself in the right position, you're going to win a race or two. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of the drivers that finished in the top 5, 4th place to be exact, was Carson Hocevar. When is this guy getting his first win? I feel like it's coming soon.
If that race had been longer, I'm not saying Hocevar would have won, but he would have gotten at least a second because he was consistently at the end of that race one of the quickest cars.
And he led 2 laps.
So I mean, he was charging late. I don't know if I wonder if he was on the same. I think he was on the same tire strand as Reddick. Yeah, he was charging late.
And speaking of charging, how about Shane Van Gisbergen going from 33rd to 14th?
Well, Shane at one point in that race was a lap down.
Yeah,
he was a lap down in the 30s, and he got back up there. He got to about 16th, and then they played a strat where they stayed out. They were one of the group with Chris Buescher that stayed out. There was like 6 cars that stayed out, and he actually made it tight. He actually was able to gain a couple of spots ultimately in the long run off that, and that's where he ended up where he finished. He was the best of the Trackhouse cars yet again.
And the only driver that DNF'd in this race, to probably no one's surprise, was Timmy Hill. And the silence fills the room. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see that. What are you going to say, Ryan?
Backmarker car. They're doing the best they can with what they have, but it's a car that you're not going to expect to run that well unless you're on a crapshoot kind of racetrack.
Yeah. Yep. Starting and parking is still a thing, apparently.
But we can also talk about the incidents of the day. You had, Hamlin gets into the back of Eric Jones and collects Bubba, who had a decent car, too. I don't think he was on the level of Reddick, but he had a decent car and got tore up a little bit. And then you had Buescher, who I thought was one of the better cars of the day. And unfortunately, it's funny because I was watching it. I called it on my stream. I said it. As soon as Brad went by him, I said, they need to have that 17 car on pit road right away. Like, that lap, you need to be pitting. And that's what they did, and didn't account for Reddick behind him. Reddick ran him over, and Buescher still finished decently. He still got a good finish out of it, but it kind of sucks for Buescher because that's the second time at Darlington he's had a run-in with Reddick that possibly cost him a chance at winning.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought for sure that we're going to have another confrontation on pit road, but that didn't happen. Not that I wanted it to happen. It was just something I thought was going to happen.
Well, it was more like, because they played the radio and the audio from it, it sounded like Chris's crew told him at the last second, kind of like was just talking to myself with how I reacted when I streamed it, that they told him right at the last second, pit. And so he really didn't have any warning to be able to give warning to Reddick, and Reddick wasn't aware he was pitting.
Yeah.
So it was more like they just, I think it was more an understanding, like, hey, I think this is on us more than it is on Tyler getting into you.
Mm. Well, anything else we can say about this race?
I'm honestly struggling to think of something to say here.
I know what's going to be said about it too, because there's Hendrick Motorsports.
What about them?
happened to them this race? Because you had, at one point, you had Larson was up there, Chase Elliott was up there, Byron kind of stuck his way up there at the end of the race. By the end of the race, there was only Byron in the top 10, and he was 8th. The next highest one
kind of faded back.
Was Elliott, who ended up 15th. It's almost as if they had great fire-off speed, it looked like, at least in Larson's case. But as that race developed and went on, obviously, I can't really discount Larson because they had an issue late. He slapped the wall and it broke the toe link, and that's why he finished where he did.
Yep, 32nd.
But at the same time, it's like you're used to seeing them run up front and be, have speed week in, week out, and it seems like there's something's a little off over there. Obviously, I think the big gauge will be this coming week, Martinsville. Their best track, so
yep.
That's why I don't think you need to hit the panic button on them yet. Granted, they haven't won yet this year, but I think Martinsville's going to be the good gauge of whether they got a handle on the new Camaro or not.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, if Hendrick does poorly at Martinsville, they need to get their stuff together.
Absolutely.
And I think it's almost twofold too for Hendrick, because you had the new Camaro out, which granted it seems to me visually like there's not much of a difference, but you get that you got to get a handle on. Plus the fact you get the new short track package too. This short track package that we somewhat used at Darlington too, and we're going to see at Martinsville this coming weekend. And maybe they're just not ready for the package yet. It might be a matter of them just getting used to this package.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm just going off here. It's just I'm thinking of things as I'm going, and plus considering I missed the last one, it's like stuff I want to say.
I hear you, man. So, it's been a another very short and sweet episode of this podcast, and hopefully we'll have the full crew back together sometime soon. But we'll be patient. So thank you all.
Don't worry about it too much.
Yeah. So thank you all for listening to this 6th episode of this podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Support the channel on Patreon if you want, but no hard feelings if you're not up for that. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good one.